T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Let's get ready to sucker!
Diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. I'm big time, lot of sun. Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Pockets running over with the dollar sign. Try to take it from me, yeah. Big time, big time, big time,
Big time.
that's a lot of grind. Try and take it from me, must be out your mind. Oh, I'm big time, lot of sun. Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Pockets running over with the dollar sign. Try and take it from me, from me, from me, from me.
Big time, number 9. Diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the numbers, that's a lot of grind. Try and take it from me, must be out your mind.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. This is not Running Point. How did we not get that flipped around? Hang tight. Hang tight. We got this. We got this. Booyah! All right, welcome in to the Power Hour, the Hour of Power, whichever way you call it. Thanks for being here. DJ Yoakley holding down the middle today. Over here, we got Billy Mack. Over there, we got Quinn. We got Paul Munson. And we've got Roberto Miushudo over there in the bottom left corner. Gentlemen, how was the weekend?
Good. Very good.
Paul, I know you had a great weekend.
Yes, I did.
And Quincy?
It was good.
There is zero energy on the show today. It must be a gloomy Monday out there.
I'm trying to figure out how to hook these earbuds up, and they're not connecting, so I'm a little ticked off right now.
Okay, that's fair enough. But let's celebrate something. Let's celebrate National... celebrate a couple things here on the 25th of October. National Greasy Food Day, first, and Chucky the Notorious Killer Doll Day, second. Which, by the way, scares the bejesus. We're not going down that road again.
No.
I do not like Chucky the doll. It scares the bejesus out of me.
I had one.
What?
Yeah, I had one of those when I was younger.
Wait, it was a real doll?
Yeah, you could have bought it.
Oh, like from the movie.
Yeah, from the movie. Not like Not like, a doll that came to life and was trying to murder me in my sleep or something. No.
You're demented. Like, why you could watch that movie and then get the doll?
Yeah.
Wow, you're messed up.
It didn't bother me. Scary movies don't bother me. Like, I mean, I don't think something's like, underneath the bed or in the closet or in the woods trying to kill me. Nah, it's okay.
McPherson's had one too.
Brandon had one too, yeah.
All right, let's get back to this comment here. What a weekend with South Range proving once again why they are the kings of the 88. West Branch, Salem, an instant classic. And was the Pitt game on Saturday, Kenny Pickett for Heisman. Okay. I'm starting to really think that is Betos' mom. Really starting to lean that way. Yeah, it was great. But let's get back to the focus here. Paul, what's your favorite greasy food?
Oh, I mean, by far, it's for me, it's got to be pizza. You get some good greasy pizza. That always helps your stomach out pretty well.
Rob, how about you?
I don't know. Probably, I'd say it's got to be like a greasy burger, for a good hangover.
Okay. Let's go, Mac.
Man, it's pizza's probably up there, but I'll probably go with French fries in general, all kinds of different toppings, whatever. But just French fries in general.
Amo hit it right on the head for me. Five Guys burger. I mean, that's as greasy as it gets, but it's also unbelievable. You let it sit in that foil for a little bit, let it kind of the cheese do its thing. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Quinn, how about you?
All of them.
All of them.
Nice drop there, Billy.
I missed it.
Have another drink, Billy.
Oh, I got you. I see it. All right. Was anybody else scared to death of Chucky?
When I was a kid, not so much anymore. But they got a new TV show out. It just came out a couple weeks ago. I think it's called Chucky.
Mm-hmm.
It's on USA Network, and it's pretty sweet.
Dude, I cannot even think about it. Like, I don't like those American Girl dolls. Nope.
Oh yeah. Kate got one. It's funny. It's funny you bring that up because as a kid, my grandmother had those porcelain dolls, to me it was it might as well have been a cage.
Yep.
Just kind of all there, and you'd sleep on the couch or something. You'd be like, oh hell no.
Like, I'm going to work. I see those dolls. I'm going to work. I'm taking care of them right now. I'm not a scary movie guy. Like, I like the Saw series because it was scary, but it was also you had to think a little bit about why.
Those would have been scarier than Freddy or Jason or Mike Myers. Those were unrealistic, but Saw, that could happen. Somebody could kidnap you and chain you up to a wall and you got to saw your hand off, or that stuff is a little more realistic and nerve wracking than Freddy Krueger with big razor blade fingers.
You know the scariest thing about all of this is when you come home at night and your wife's watching American Greed, and it's ways that these people that were rich, the wife or the husband, killed their significant other for the money. And every time I walk into my house and she's watching that, she does this slow head turn over to me, and I'm I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to the basement. I'm protecting myself. That's how we got a caller.
Not going on. I can't answer it.
I can hear it in the background.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Welcome back, Quinn.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, let's get to the weekend, man. My goodness, so many things to talk about from high school football over the weekend. Let's start with the surprise of the South Range score. 34-0, South Range beats Hubbard. A lot of people were taking Hubbard. A lot of people were saying this was going to be a 1 or 2 point game. Some people said it was going to be a 30-point game. And some people, Jeff Betos, correctly picked out the exact number of yards that TC Caffey had for the entire night. Incredible. Talk to me about this game, what you saw. Paul, you had a front row seat for it. What did you see?
I was blown away. I mean, in surprised that they shut him out. I would never expect that. I think if anybody on this panel would have been told on Friday, hey, one of these teams is not going to score at all, I think we all would have called him a liar, because it would have been like, no, these two teams, I mean, again, one scoring 409, the other one scoring 349 for the season at that time. They're going to score. You thought, okay, Caffey's going to get some yards, but is he going to get all the yards that he needs to try to win that game? And credit to, the coaching staff and the players on South Range. They went out there and said, not on our watch. And their defense tightened up. Their defense kept them from getting the big yards, the big play. I mean, the leading rusher was the Wildcat quarterback, number 6.
Landon Bates.
Bates. He was their leading rusher with like 84 yards. So I was impressed and surprised all at the same time, because, I mean, they go down, South Range scores first, blocked extra point, and then, okay, if they come back and score here, we'll see what happens. And then it was just back and forth. But I was happy to see the outcome there. So
what did you guys think when you were looking at the scores or watching Audible Call? What did you think when you saw 20-0 at halftime and 34-0 final score, Billy?
Well, Quinn and I had the game on in our booth. We were watching it as our game was pretty much decided in the first couple minutes of our game. But it really just goes to show you that like one-dimensional teams just don't work. I mean, Aaron hit it right on the head. You could beat some teams and you could bully some teams if you're bigger back, have some better players. But when you're evenly matched, whether it's offense and defense, and you only got a scheme to just stop the run and say, the Bill Belichick way, make them do things they feel uncomfortable doing, and they had to throw the ball to get themselves in a position where they can run the ball successfully, and maybe break some things. And then it just kind of, when you're not stopping somebody, it's hard to go, here's our game plan. And then by the first quarter, you're going, screw it. What do we do now? You're yelling at your offensive coordinator, like, how do we get out of a 20-0 lead? You can't just do it by running the football. You got to score a couple times there. And, kudos to South Range, the coaching staff, for putting a great plan together, and even more so the players for executing that plan.
Rob,
0 for 6. The quarterback was 0 for 6.
Rob, when you heard about this game, what were the first things that went through your mind?
I was predicting a 20-point win just because, like everybody started talking about last week. The thing is, as good as Hubbard is, they are one-dimensional. You shut down their offense is TC Caffey. You shut him down, you stack the box, you bring blitz that gap. I mean, it's, I don't think anybody was going to pick 34-0 though. But like Paul said, when as soon as Paul said he's predicting 20 points, I was basically trying to be right there with him with the score, but definitely didn't think an actual shutdown. So I'll tell you what, that is very concerning for Hubbard going into the playoffs to get beat like that, because really whoever they're playing, all they got to do is watch that film and see what South Range did and duplicate it.
They get New Philly.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous team. That really is a dangerous team that they picked up. Quinn, are you going to pick that up? Speaking of, why?
And every time I do it, I never get it right anyway.
Okay. Okay. Another game that I thought was really interesting was the Garrettsville Garfield and Liberty. Liberty showed up the last couple weeks of the season, guys, and they missed the playoffs, obviously, but not pick it up.
I don't even know how.
Hit the button that says pick up, and then hit the
call.
Yep.
And then what?
And then turn up 6.
Didn't work.
Hello, this is Wong from Wong Chinese. I have an order of chicken, beef broccoli, a sweet and sour chicken lo mein, and order of ribs. It's ready for you to pick up.
Ribs?
What? This is the number you gave me for order. Your order has been ready for half an hour.
You can hang up now.
I don't like that thing.
Congratulations on picking up the phone call.
Thanks. We got ribs. Here you go. I wonder if they're both closed.
Oh, whoa. Here we go.
What did I do to you today?
Round 6. He was in a good mood before he started the show. I don't know what happened. Like, between the walk from there to there, I don't know. I don't know what happened. The Garrettsville, Garfield, and Liberty game. I mean, take me through it, Billy. I mean, you know those teams better than most. You got a front row seat to Liberty. Did Liberty just come on too late?
No, I mean, it was back and forth the entire game. I mean, Liberty matched them point for point for almost the entire game. Even took the lead late in the game. What's that?
I mean, the season.
Too late in the season.
Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah. Yes, they did. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you have young guys running your offense, right? But when you have a freshman quarterback the entire year, it takes you weeks, if not a whole season, to kind of understand the offense and what the quarterback's supposed to do, and then to learn from your experiences, whether it's success or failure. And it's the most important. I mean, we can all say the quarterback play is the most important throughout the year. They came on a little too late, because I think they would be a problem in the playoffs for anybody. It's unfortunate that they didn't get in. I think they're going to be a team to look out for next year. And Ventures is also a very good running back. He's a senior, so he'll be out. But yeah, it's I thought that game would be close. I don't think many people thought that game would be close, but just the versatile, skilled positions that Liberty has and the athleticism, I thought that they could maybe get to the edge, and they did just that. They also have two big boys up front that are close to 300 pounds that can stuff the inside from tackle to tackle. So that's a different type of defense that Garrettsville hasn't seen yet this year either. So it kept them off balance a little bit.
Suzanne Beto says, I don't know, they did pretty good in the playoffs when LJ Scott was there, but other than that, yes, I think that was in reference to Hubbard, quote, traditionally struggling in the playoffs. I mean, listen,
well, they're D2 when LJ Scott was there, so I mean, you're getting into a different world. There's not a whole bunch of Division II schools, or even Division III schools that are just laying around the weeds here that Hubbard gets an opportunity to play. So
hasn't D7 hasn't been there forever. Like when they were D2, Hubbard was D2. There was no D7, correct? Or am I speaking out? Okay. Yeah. So I mean, D7 changed everything. We saw with kind of how things shook out over the weekend. We had an idea Friday going into Saturday and Saturday going into Sunday, but there were a couple different ones that got changed. Obviously, with the games at hand. Paul, how many teams made it from the YSN family?
So from the YSN family, we have 18 teams.
Okay. And then there's a couple games that we're working on getting because there's other streams and other outlets. Of course, we're working on it for you folks. We're going to get as many as we can, obviously, to you on Friday and Saturday night. We'll have an official list coming out, hopefully, fingers crossed tomorrow. Quinn and I are working on that. But Paul's got to do what he does so well and making sure that we have room reserved in the press boxes to bring you the games. One game we will not be bringing to you, but will be available on stream, is the Gerard Gilmore game, correct?
Yeah, Gerard Gilmore was supposed to be on Friday because that's when Division I through 4 plays. But Gerard's going to go up north to play Gilmore Academy, and Gilmore Academy does not have lights at their stadium. So that game is moved to Saturday at 1:30, and Gilmore does their own broadcast. So they gave us the link that people can go to and pay them, and so
that's just how it is. It's a business. It's a business for them as well. I understand the concept of not wanting to share the profits and the proceeds and things like that, and wanting Gerard to buy their stuff because that's how it works. But reality is we'll have the link for you. I don't know what they're charging. It's not set up like ours. So unfortunately, that's what you're gonna have to do if you want the Gerard game. So we apologize to Gerard, and obviously, I keep saying obviously, if they move on, hopefully we'll be able to pick up the Indians once again in week 12. So the other one is Garrettsville Garfield. They're going to be doing what they did the entire year. Again, we don't know if they're charging or not, but they do their own broadcast. So if they're not charging, we're not going to charge you. From that standpoint, the OHSA is giving us a $200 per game fee for royalties that we have to pay. So if, let's say we have 18 games, it's $200 a game. We have to pay it. So we are putting the $9.99 per night fence up for our games. You've heard us talk about this late last week. And that's, it is what it is. You know what I mean? We've got to do that. I still think that's a bargain at $9.99 to get that amount of games on a Friday, and then go back and a $10 ticket gets you all the games on Saturday as well. So if you go to the game without pre-sale, the way I understand it, the way that it was listed was it's $12 per person. So a family of 4, that you're already $50 in the hole, and you got to park and eat and all that stuff. So it could be $100 bill by the time you're done. So $9.99 I think is decent. And at the end of the day, if you're going to go to the game, go to the game. We want you to represent your teams. But this gives an alternative to people that can't or won't go to the game. So hopefully you enjoy it. And if you were with us last year, you understand how it works. It's $9.99 every single game on that day. You get it. And then if you want the Saturday games as well, it's just another purchase at $9.99. So $20 gets you every game on the network this Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. Right now, Friday, we've got 6 playoff games and then 2 regular season games. We're still working on the other 2 playoff games. And on Saturday, you've got 8 playoff games. So, I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, we just talked about the 2 streaming games that are on there. But, yeah, I mean, 8 games on both days, potentially 10 on Friday, including the 2 regular season games, which those will be free, obviously, because those will be regular season games. But, I mean, hey, how can you go wrong? And there's some great games, some great teams out there. So,
I mean, people will shake a stick at 16s and 1s, and I get it. I understand it. But if a 16 defeats a 1, look out. Just look out, because there's going to be there's already people. I think I shared the link earlier on my personal Facebook page. You guys saw there was somebody out there completely blasting the OHSAA for what they're calling greed. I can't say that I disagree with the article a whole lot, but at the same time, the OHSAA is a business. They understand it. There's a reason that it's 16 teams and not 12 or 8. They're in it to make money, and they're trying to make up for the COVID year last year, which is interesting to me still, but I digress. Let's get back to what we're talking about, the games this weekend. I mean, by far, I think everybody knows, hopefully at this point, what happened in that West Branch game.
Billy's only been right about one thing over the last 3 weeks, that Baker Mayfield stinks. His prediction on Friday night was wrong. Thursday night, his ribs weren't as good as mine. Come on, Billy. You got to start hitting a little bit better than 250.
Listen, here's the deal. I appreciate you said that I was right about Baker, which that's all I heard. But thank you to my favorite athletic director in the Valley. I really appreciate that I was right.
Quinn, you don't look real good today either.
Oh, I'm great.
You're good today? Okay.
Long day on Saturday.
I didn't know where that was coming from. I was looking at Rob, and I'm like, holy crap, he sounds just like Farron.
But you were playing a recording.
The ghost of Don Farron.
Yeah.
The West Branch Salem game. I mean, here's what I was absolutely nutty about. It was like the 3rd all-time viewed game on YSN in history. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, these ratings are really good. And then I realized no other media source was there for this game. This was the 50th edition of West Branch versus Salem, and we were the only ones there. And Matt Mowry and Jared Niederheiser did a great job on this game. People were sending me messages, just as they did on Friday night for Saturday, sending me messages about being a homer and this and that. They're the Salem guys. It was a home game for Salem. If it's at West Branch, we have our own West Branch crew. This is how it goes. And unfortunately, it's one of those situations where we're not going to do 2 broadcasts because we're going to split up the ratings, and that doesn't do anything for our sponsors that are bringing that game to you absolutely free. But that being said, you couldn't ask for a better game. The overtime was unbelievable. Salem proved everything that we wanted them to prove, that they belong, and they can potentially do a lot of damage in the playoffs, because that's the 1 seed, folks. That's the 1 seed in the region right there that they took to the brink. And, Paul and I we were going back and forth about what you would do and what I would do but at the end of the day, kudos to West Branch. I mean, going for 2 there, Stone City, going for 2 with a walk-off winner in overtime. Would you guys have called that 2-point conversion, or let's be honest, would you have kicked the field goal and do it all over again? Quinn, we'll start with you.
Oh, I would have went for 2. Why not? I got nothing to lose. Go for 2. They're the highest scoring team in the state. Go for 2.
Fair enough. Billy?
I think that decision's probably made before the game. You know, you kind of break down some things. I mean, I know when I was coaching, we broke a lot of things down, like especially if we were in a playoff race. You know, where would we fall if we lost this game? I think the only way where they would have went was 2 anyway, even if they'd have lost. So that comes into consideration as well. You know, and you're playing your rival team. Usually the rule is just you go for 2 on the road and you tie it up at home. Obviously, they were on the road. That's why I'm a big proponent for teams that are going on the road to go for 2 to win a game. I think and their offense is so good. I think they have probably multiple plays that they feel that they can run inside the red zone and score at any time. So that's probably a 2-point conversion. You practice it, especially on Thursday. So I think that they felt comfortable going for it. And if you feel comfortable doing it, absolutely, you should do it.
What was wild about that ending was Drew DeShields carried it the first time, and they waved it off because of a timeout, right? And then he did it the second time, and it was good, and he basically walked in the end zone. To have Drew DeShields, who's just a junior, be able to lead you down the field, that takes a lot of coach having faith in his quarterback, and I think that he has that with Drew. Drew was slinging it. I mean, Jackson Johnson ripped off a 42-yard touchdown at the end of the game. Paul, you said you would have kneeled at the 5-yard line and tried to run out the clock. But a game like that, I mean, you hate each other. Your arch rivals, 53 yards away from each other on the field on each sideline. Are you really thinking about that? Like that, and I wouldn't have. I'll be honest. I never would have said, I've got clear skies into the end zone. I'm going to down it at the 2-yard line.
Yeah, I mean, and it's tough because, again, they're high school kids, you know. So, and you're a coach again, like you said, you're coaching in a rivalry game, and you want to beat that team over there. You know, in the situation, you're all caught up in the moment because it was like, if I remember correctly, watching the game where I was at, I think it was under 2 minutes to go. I think each team only had maybe 1 timeout. A couple first downs were going to ice it for Salem for sure because they were going to milk that clock down. And he breaks loose, and I was like, holy crap. But again, I'm not in the game in the moment. I'm sitting here as a fan watching and thinking to myself, fall down. You see it all the time in college. You see it in the pros especially that, hey, don't score that touchdown because if you fall down now, you can run that clock out. And again, if he falls down inside the 5, okay, West Branch is going to have to take one of those timeouts, if not both of them. But you've got a 25-second clock. You run it down, and worst case scenario, you try to kick a field goal or you go for it on 4th. You're up by a point, and just if you don't get that touchdown and you're inside the 5, now they've got to drive almost 100 yards, probably with no time to go. And I don't know. I mean, he scores, but when he scored, in my mind, I went, knowing how prolific the offense is with West Branch, I'm thinking to myself, it's like what people always say, like you give too much time to that super quarterback, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. You just gave them too much time on the clock, and sure enough, there they go. Right down the field, they score the touchdown, and I'm like, I like your point.
I texted you. I texted you. As soon as they scored, I said, Salem just lost the game.
And Bill,
lost.
They lost. But what I never thought about, and it was a great point in a pre-show, DJ brought it up, you scored that touchdown, you're up 7. Go for 2, you're up 9 if you get it. If you don't get it, who cares? You're still up 7. It's a touchdown. That would have been something, too, I guess, if you're Salem. You got to think about, listen, if we go for 2, we ice this thing. It's over no matter what. We won. You do kick the extra point. Now it's 8, and you are putting it on the other team to get a 2-point conversion. But, again, West Branch proved they can do that, and they did it pretty effectively. So it was interesting. I mean, a hell of a game. I mean, I've had some kids said they were at the game, they were here in school, and they're like, it was just insane. Like, it was crazy.
The only reason I say that, Paul, is going for 2 for Salem at that point. Those offenses are so good, both of them, that to stop them from 2 yards out is almost a bigger feat than actually getting the 2-point conversion at that point. To me, at least. I mean, Jackson Johnson, Blaze X-Line, you got Brock Young on Salem's side. I mean, it's a who's who in that game of just points, just absolutely always calculating points. And it was I mean, can you imagine what it would look like on one of those calculators they used to have? And the roll would come out. I mean, it's just points and points and points and points. I never second guess coaches, but this is why we have a show. What would you have done? And if I was Ron John in that position, I'm not sure I would actually do it, and it's easy for me to talk about, but I probably would have went for 2 and said, listen, if we don't get it, we're up 7. If we get it, they need 2 possessions to beat us, and that's it.
I will say, like, offensive coordinators, head coaches, they'll have a play caller sheet, and usually on the bottom right-hand side, they have when to go for 2, up 4, up 7, up 9, whatever the case is. And they usually stick to that, whatever that is. They don't go, and that's, coaches are very ABC. Like,
they don't let the emotions of the game get to them.
They do the math ahead of time. They say these are, and if you don't have that in your box, then that's what you decide. It's automatic. You're right. You take the emotion exactly completely out of it. And then this is what my sheet says. I've planned this ahead of time for the last week or even the season, and this is what I do.
See, I'm interested because I would love to see kind of because I believe there was a timeout somewhere in there where they had to think about what they wanted to do. There was, because we were standing next to Charles Bell on the sidelines, and I think they called a timeout after I literally just told him, I said, I'd go for 2 here. I'd go for 2. And all of a sudden there's a timeout, and he looked at me and said, I think Ron John heard you. I think they're going to go for 2. Then they came out and kicked the extra point, putting them up 8. You sit there, and again, it's Monday morning quarterback or Sunday morning quarterback, I guess in this case. But I get the sheet. But listen, I knew when West Branch scored that touchdown to tie it up, or I'm sorry, to be down by 2 on the other side to go to overtime, the damage is done. There's not many teams that are going to stop West Branch or Salem from 2 yards out. I'm sorry. And I think that was Ken Harris, the head coach of West Branch, really just saying, hey, he's a Carnegie Mellon grad, right? He's a smart guy. He goes, to your point, Billy, he probably had it all along saying, we're going for 2 and we're walking this off. But the coolest part about it was right before they went for 2, the entire student section came out of the stands. And they were standing on the track on the far side. And it's almost like they knew it. And I interviewed Drew after the game, and I said, what were you thinking when you on that 2-point conversion? And he said, I'm getting in. And sure enough, that's what he did. And I felt like Salem, the entire and that place was packed. I felt like Salem knew what was going to happen when they scored that touchdown. So it was interesting. But that catch on the far sideline to bring it within 2 is the best catch I've ever seen in a live game.
You also got to keep in mind, too, think about it this way. The rivalry game, the big game, the last game going to the playoffs, and realistically, if you're the head coach for that football team, whether you get it or not, because, if they don't get that 2-point conversion, we're having a totally different conversation. Everybody knows how that goes. You're either a goat or you're not. But if you go for that 2-point, you don't get it. I can't imagine West Branch is on any kind of downward spiral going into the playoffs. I think they're still okay. I think everybody's still pumped up. Everybody has an understanding that they just played a unbelievable football game, and you either went for it or you didn't, and you either got it or you didn't. Either way, in my opinion, this does not affect your team. This does not affect coaching. This is just more fun than anything because you got to say you got the game. But more importantly, going to the playoffs, a better question is, do you pull the same stunt in a playoff game?
Oh, yeah.
That's where it becomes more valuable.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the big question. Do you put the game on the line and give it to Drew, depending on who you're playing? Because, you could compliment West Branch, you could compliment Salem all you want. But going into the playoffs, you're not playing your conference. You're playing, you're not playing the teams you're used to playing. You're playing better schools, better programs that could stop you from those 2 yards. So the question will remain: do you pull the same move in the playoffs? And how does that, how do you, in your opinion, how does that pan out?
Let me ask you this. Can you see these two teams meeting up again in the playoffs, given that one's the 1 seed and one's the 6 seed?
Yeah, Salem's a 6. They'd have to meet in a regional championship game, which means Salem would have to get by Ursuline in the next round.
So better question is, same scenario, playoff. You kick the extra point, you go for 2 for the win.
I can't say that. I'd put Skittles on it that he would go for 2 again. My question would be, would Ron John go for 2 instead of kicking the extra point? That's what I would be asking, because I still think, and people from West Branch already think that they're slighted, and I hate that they feel that way. But I think if the Quakers go for 2 there, they get it. And not to second guess the coaching staff, but I think they would have got it. I mean, they were striking from all over the field. But I don't know who gets the ball. You know what I mean? Does Jackson get the ball? Does Brock get the ball? Do you give it to X-Line somehow and one of the fastest guys on that field? Rob, I love your question, but I think it's on the shoes on the other foot. Quinn, you said you were watching it on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, it's competitive football. I mean, how can you not? I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was distracted by Ohio State, but I was more into the Salem-West Branch game than I was Ohio State.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Amo saying this stuff. Like, everybody was saying West Branch was going to destroy Salem. They're the number 1 seed. And it didn't happen. It's an overtime win. Like, anything goes when you get deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think that's the crazy part. And I love it. That's why we love what we do, right? That's why we love sports. There's so many variables. And Amo's certainly entitled to his own opinion. But, man, I'll tell you what. I don't think there's going to be any bashings past maybe the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think those next round games. I mean, West Branch. If things work out, West Branch is going to get Poland. If Poland wins, that's their next round game. I mean, that's
going to be a game too.
Yeah, I was trying to find out the points thing. Who has the most points this year? If it still is West Branch or not? They end up right now. They have 517, but I was pulling up stuff on OHSA. Man, guys back in the 1920s and before, they were ruthless. 162 to nothing, 154 to nothing. These are high school games back in the 20s and 30s. They just running it up. They didn't care.
What was East Palestine doing back then?
Defense has been suspect at best.
I agree. I mean,
to be fair, they were suspect against Division II teams. So
this is true. I can't wait, guys. This week starts one of the best weeks of the entire year, the playoff season. For the last 2 years we haven't been able to say the best in the business per se, because last year everybody got in, and this year it's there's a team that's 1-9 playing a 10-0 team in Division 1.
There's one worse. I looked it up. I knew we were going to probably talk about it a little bit, but people talk about the 16 teams getting in. Honestly, where it's the worst is Division 1. You would think, it's Division 6, Division 7, where these aren't very they're smaller schools. No, most of those schools are not bad. But you look at Division 1. I pulled it up. Lakewood St. Ed's the number 1 seed at 8-1. They're playing Lorraine, who's 1-9. Now Lorraine and Elyria were both. Or not Elyria. That was the other team. They were both 0-9 going into last week, and Lorraine happened to win. They beat Shaw. So, hey, your consolation prize, you get to go to the playoffs and play the number 1 team in Division 1. But that's not the worst one. The worst one is in Division 1, Region 4, Cincinnati Oak Hills, 0-10. 0-10. They didn't win a game all year, and guess who they get? They get to go play Cincinnati Moeller. So, congratulations. And like I said, if you look at Division 1, it's the worst. In Division 1, Region 4, the 9 through 16, not one of them have a winning record. The same goes for Division 1, Region 3. 9 through 16, not one of them has a winning record. And it's like you sit there and look at that and listen, we all complain about OHSAA and we know what they're about. They're about the money. And, some people are like, oh, well, 16 teams, let some of these teams get in, they get to play. What are these teams going to get out of this? You don't have a winning record. Most of them are like 2-7, 3-6, maybe if they're lucky. I mean, you even have a team with a losing record hosting Cincinnati Elder. They're 4-5. They're a 7 seed in Region 4. So, and listen, we know that's a powerhouse team. Cincinnati Elder is one of those names that always floats around. But I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I think you talk to all the coaches, which we all talk to all the time. They wanted 12. They wanted 12. They told the state, we want 12, and the state said, all right, we appreciate your vote. We'll let you know. And they get
thanks
16.
for your input.
There's really nothing you can spin good when there's only like 16 teams available to get into the playoffs. Therefore, at least in like Division 7, when there's 19 or 21, it's like, well, they earned it to a degree, so therefore they earned it, right?
Yeah.
At some point, you could say whether they're 3-7 or whatever, 2-8, they did enough to qualify. Where at the Division 1 level, it's like, hey, 16s are in, let's go.
Yeah, well, yeah, Division 1, Region 1, there was only 17 teams. 17. And we watched it for the last couple of weeks. Lorraine, and I can't remember who the other team was, but they both were tied at 16. You're like, one of these guys got to get in. And if they both go 0-10, how do you determine who gets in? I mean, Lorraine went out there to get their one win, and they wanted it, but I don't know. It's real tough for me because how do you tell some of these teams to go out there? Like, how do you tell Lakewood St. Ed to go out there and have a great game against Lorraine? Like,
You don't.
They're going to be
They're going to
done.
go out there and they're going to get their asses cracked. Everybody knows it. Everybody in the
Lakewood-
stadium knows it. You talk about a waste. There's a waste.
Yeah, Lakewood St. Ed's that game's going to be over in the first quarter.
It's not even
and
about
then
the game being over. You could go out there and score 4 or 5 touchdowns in the first quarter and the game be over, whatever. I'm talking about just getting your heads cracked. You're setting up a winless football team that has zero expectations. There's not one parent in that stand that is realistically thinking that they're going to be any kind of entertained watching their team that night. All the coaches, the schooling, just to watch. It's basically, in my opinion, it's a money setup. They have no regard for that scenario in itself. That you could possibly be setting a kid that maybe wanted to go play D1, D2, or D3 college football, and he's decent, and all of a sudden he can't because he snapped his leg in half because he was trying to tackle a 4-star running back. There's a lot of variables. We get the whole money grab. We understand that. It's ridiculous. I'm mind blown that the way that I'm finding out how they set all this up. And then when you start digging in and realizing that they take the gate, they take a percentage of this, they take this, and they just keep grabbing everything. And they don't care about these kids that are sitting on an 0-10 team getting ready to go play a college high school team.
So let me just stop right there. And again, we know what the OHSAA is in it for. They're in it for the financing side of it, and they do a good job. Listen, they basically follow the rule of the NFL, right? From that standpoint, they sponsor everything. They get the tickets. It's all online now because naturally you can't sell tickets. Like, you can't let your friends into the game anymore without being completely oblivious to, scan my phone or whatever they do there. From that standpoint, it used to be they gave you ticket rolls, and as many tickets were there, the OHSAA knows. Now you have to order these online tickets, which, Paul, you say is going to be troublesome for the elder community. I don't disagree with that. But
or the less tech savvy people. But even, like you brought up a good point, what stops if I'm a guy working at the gate and I got that little, scanner, and you walk up and you're my buddy and you're just like, oh, here you go, scan my phone. All right, buddy, going in, and I never even
Beep.
yeah. I never even really scan it and just let you in. And there's going to be people who do that because there's way too many people who dislike the OHSAA and say, we're not going to give them that money just because they're scammers, and there's going to still be people getting into games for free. Or
I want to say when we did baseball, there was somebody at the park right at the gate. Like, I mean, either they were collecting or doing the tickets or the phones or whatnot. Even when we were doing broadcasts, when we were going in, they were like, "You need a thing." I'm like, "No, we're with YSN broadcasting the game." What do you mean? You need a ticket, So I think there'll be somebody in there. There'll probably be some. Hey, looking this way, just hurry up and sneak through. Like when we were kids trying to get into like the stadiums or whatnot. But I don't know if it'll be as much as maybe to the point where they need to worry about it, because they do hire people to guard that.
And Bill, you're spot on, because the OHSA tries to make sure they lose as little as possible.
Get there.
Right? What's the loss prevention officer? Like, every grocery store has one of those. I feel like the OHSA has more of those than they do, people that work there. So everybody's about loss prevention nowadays. But here's where I'm interested on your take, Rob, and everybody's take, really. Yesterday, and I sent this out to the group chat, so Rob, this might be news to you. I don't know who's on your timeline. I was going to save this but I can't. It needs to be a discussion. I'm going to quote this directly, and you tell me what you think of from a local media member who said this about our area. Quote, "These state playoff matchups gave no luck whatsoever to the local teams. I said at the beginning of the year that we wouldn't have a state champion, nor would we have a local team play in the state championship game. I got to be honest, we might not even have a regional champion this year. I hope I'm wrong." If a local media member, and I'll tell you this straight up, if a member of YSN ever put that out there, they'd be immediately fired.
I don't understand what is he referring to by we're not going to have a regional champion.
He's saying we're not going to have a regional champion locally here at all.
So he's saying basically South Range is going to crap the bed in the second week of the playoffs? Or
South Range, Springfield, Hubbard, Canfield, Ursula, name it. And
I'm confused by the comment in itself. It just doesn't make sense to me.
This was 10 weeks ago.
Problem with this comment is how he basically says that we got hosed over in the seedings, kind of saying. It's like the seedings are very cut and dry of how this works. I mean, this system's been around since, I think Joe Idol said 2002, right? So if the system's been around, it's the same as it's always been. It's computer points. It's you beat a team, if they go out and beat teams, you get secondary points from that. You get X amount of points for playing teams up the division and so on and so forth. So then whoever has the most points gets the higher seed. Like, it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, the formula in itself is confusing, and it can be especially for people who don't really pay attention to how it works. But at the end of the day, like saying that we got hosed and whatnot, I think we have a number of teams that could be regional champions. I mean, we have a couple 1 seeds. So what does that mean? I mean, if you're the 1 seed, why can't you just win the region? I don't. I mean, I just think that it's one of those things you put on Twitter, and you try to get people's attention to have a debate with you about it, and you think that you're somebody.
If you want to know what the first thing I thought of was, have you guys ever seen the movie Grandma's Boy?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Hilarious movie. You remember the part where his coworker came in and he was telling him about the Dance Revolution being in the break room, and his response is, "Well, we don't have Dance Revolution, so you're dumb." That's the first thing that I would think of that would pop into my head when I hear a local reporter saying something absurd as that. It just doesn't make sense to me.
So let's put this in perspective. 10 weeks ago, this same gentleman put out that 35 teams, in his anticipation, or his estimation, would make the playoffs. 35 teams. YSN covers 50 teams. We have 50 schools at this point in juncture. That means 15 teams you basically take out of the scenario. I think that we are stronger football from having the 18 teams of YSN in. And we may not have a regional championship. However, I think we have just as good of a chance as anybody else when you look at this. I mean, we really do. You look at the teams that we have, they're very strong. The majority of our teams, if I'm not mistaken, are in the top half of the bracket. They're in the one
high school football period. You have California, you got your Florida, you got Texas, you got Western PA, you got Northeastern Ohio, and then if you start, if you go into let's just say the top 10, those regions are literally famous for Friday night light action. It's always been like that. So I mean, Northeastern Ohio is a pretty damn good football area. I mean itself. So I don't understand it.
Donnie Riccatelli says that's because the only source for sports in our valley is YSN. Local media guy sounds like the two guys in Major League saying we suck.
Who gives a Nobody's listening.
Yeah.
I think it's so weird. Like you're going to say there's only 7 state champions, right? So I mean to say that we're not going to have a state champion, okay, you could be right. We didn't have one last year. You know what I mean? Like the last one we had was JFK, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
That's really going out on a limb to say we're not going to have a state champion.
That's what.
but the way he said it, and obviously if you know this show, you know exactly who we're talking about. You don't have to do a whole lot of research. But when he said it, there was this, looking around, waiting for somebody to jump on his stuff.
Does it seem like he's almost I don't know? Does he seem like he's almost upset that a majority of the talent in Ohio is realistically, if you think about it, going to come from where? Cleveland, Cincinnati. We all agree on that?
Yep.
Because we all know that those are huge football towns.
And Columbus.
They're so big. I mean, there's so many freaking people that live there. Of course, you're going to have great football programs. We all know how that works. But it almost sounds like he's a little pissed off that, Youngstown's not as big as Cleveland or Cincinnati or
there's
Columbus.
also a giant conference to the west of us that pretty much wins everything.
Yeah. I say the West and the Northeast have done a pretty good job from Division 4 down.
Yep.
So if you talk to the 1, 2, and 3 seeds, you're going to get into the those big city districts. But the East and West have really dominated from 4 down.
Yeah, and it's just he would, like you said, he was looking for somebody to like say, oh, you're right, or oh my goodness, it was an attention grabber. It's all it was. It was an attention grabber. I don't think any of our schools got screwed. You either earned your way into the playoffs or you didn't. Like we talked earlier about Liberty. Liberty was going to be a bear for somebody if they made it. And they were going to be a 14, 15, or a 16 seed. And if they were a 15 seed, that was going to be South Range. If they were a 16, that was going to be Curlin. So we're going to be a bear. They didn't make it. That's a shame. Okay, you look forward to next year. Yeah, all those other schools, you had an opportunity to get into playoffs. Yes, the state opened the playoffs up a little bit more for whatever reason they want to say. We know the main reason why, but you had an opportunity, you didn't make it. To go out there now and say, oh, we got screwed. They didn't sit. No, they didn't sit there and go, we're going to go here to there and there to here. No, they said, here it is. Play your way in. You don't play your way in, it is what it is, go make some pit cells.
I don't think that, Donnie, we're talking about the same guy, but same ballpark. Same ballpark.
Well, that kind of attention on top of everything else. I mean, it just invites such a huge wave of negative energy that, I wouldn't want anything to do with that conversation if I was that dumb enough to actually say something like that.
And ladies and gentlemen, that leads us to the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, brought to you by our friends over at Joe Dickey Electric. Anything commercial, anything residential, anything electrical, DickeyElectric.com. That's the site for you. All right, I'm going to leave this off because this goes right into my spark. You look around at nowadays in these schools that have so many programs that are losing kids left and right. You're losing them from football. You're losing them from soccer. You're losing them from basketball, from volleyball, from baseball, from softball. You name it. You're losing these kids. When you are a member of the media, whether it's YSN or otherwise, you have a responsibility and a right to really lift these kids up and lift these schools up and report what is right. You have to report the news and you have to report the facts of what happens. But beyond that, you have an opportunity and a responsibility to utilize sports as a tool for good. And this is a main reason of why this guy and YSN never really meshed in the middle. It was never really a great partnership. It was always headbutting because we're not looking for headlines except for if they're positive. And that might sound like fluff, and I've heard that word thrown around a bunch. But listen, our area doesn't need this. There's enough bad news when you open up the newspaper, when you go online and you see people are shot and killed and murdered and people dying every day in this area. Sports in this area is something we can all get behind. It's why YSN is so successful. And if you're going to sit back and take this high road, or in my estimation, a very low road, and you're going to cut down the kids for the hard work that they've done all season and sit there and promote yourself beyond all of this and say that, I hope I'm wrong, I hope we have more. Shut up. Get out of the media, leave, go do something else. Go stock shelves or whatever you can do, or dunk donuts or whatever the hell you do that isn't in the sports field. Because we don't have time for that garbage around here. These kids deserve better, and I'll tell you right now, straight up, we're the reason that we kick your ass each and every week. And you're the reason, your bad attitude is the reason that you no longer will ever have a seat at our table. And rant.
Go make pit cells.
Quinn.
I don't even know how to follow that. I don't even want to follow that. Like that's fantastic.
Actually, if you want, I got a follow up kind of.
Go ahead, buddy.
I was reading a story yesterday, Facebook or 2 days ago, I forget, and this kid went to school dressed up as Tony Stark, and he looked so freaking cool. And then the next picture, it's him bawling his eyes out because a couple little dickheads told him he looked like garbage, and his costume sucked. And all of a sudden, the kid's day's ruined. You know, his mom bounced back and got everything put together, and ended up making his day better in the end. But it was gut wrenching to see this because, and then you had some people that were saying, why would you put your kid on Facebook like that? I'm like, well, I understand that too, but at the same time, it's a great message. The message is this: we all know kids can be little jerks, and you really, parents, if you get a chance, regardless of how cool you think your kid might be or how whatever's going on, it's still not a bad idea to periodically talk to them about bullying and about how words can literally ruin somebody's day. And to get out of that habit, just stay positive. You don't know what that person's going through. You don't know what's going on. Try and be kind to least, That's just a big reminder for everybody. Talk to your kids about bullying and the effects that one word can have on a kid for the rest of that day. So,
nice job, Rob. Paul?
Yeah, mine's a positive spark. It was a good weekend. We had a nice turnout for our baseball, softball, cornhole tournament out there at Risers. There was some good teams out there. Some people had a lot of fun.
Some bad teams.
Some more than others had a lot more fun. And it was nice. I think it was a good night, good afternoon as well, because we had a really good night on Friday night. I didn't expect to see a shutout. I did expect a Raider win, and back-to-back NE8 champions is the South Range Raider football team. So, listen, now the sky's the limit. Playoffs are here, and keep the hammer down. It was the fun couple days here in Raider country. So,
Billy?
I guess I'll take us out on a really good note. Positive spark yesterday and even the weekend in general. Kate and I took her niece and nephew, and we did some Halloween activities at the house, crafts and creating masks and designs and things. And the community got together and they did kind of like they fed everybody and also had like pumpkin paintings and did things around with the kids. And I just think it's really cool. Coming from a place where I'm at, we didn't really have that community vibe, and here in just our little area, it was really nice to see everybody kind of come together and do things for the kiddos. So I think it was pretty cool.
Awesome. All right, Quinn, last chance.
All right, mine's negative. It's Jeff. He screwed me in this damn cornhole tournament. He couldn't hit the board. How do you?
He scored the only point in the game. You guys got beat 21-0. He scored the only point.
It was 21-1. First of all, and second of all,
sorry.
He paired me with the guy that didn't miss the board once, didn't miss the hole out of four bags. He made two of them every time. I couldn't do it.
Excuses.
We need. We do need no ringers on that sheet next time, Paul.
Everybody's amateurs. It says amateurs only.
Paul, the chair that you were sitting on could have thrown better than Betos that last game. And
Well, listen, Jeff did enjoy the refreshments a little too much by that time of the day.
Are you saying that Jeff had a rocky road?
I did have to give Jeff some crap though, because he spilled his drink and he cleaned it up, and I was like, hey, I was like, that right up your alley, buddy. And
he stared at it. It spilled and he just looked down at it and just watched it.
It was just water. I don't know what you guys are complaining about, because
he was debating on whether he could drink it or not. Should I drink that off the floor?
I mean,
Okay.
listen, hey, when the bright lights went on, my guy was ready to go. He did a great job on primetime. Great job on primetime.
He did look good.
Crumbled in cornhole though.
Yeah, well, we were 1-3 and we beat a 12-year-old, and that's it. So EB and I were not exactly the ringers. We were the true amateurs at the cornhole event. So final things here. Mine is Jeff 2, negative, very negative, says Kate. And Jess Leon says, can't even imagine, no YSN. Our kids would never experience the spotlight. There it is. That's your final tally here on the YSN Power Hour. Right on time, right out the door. Everybody say bye.
Adios.